You've been lied to about Egypt, not by malice, but by simplification. When you picture ancient Egypt, you probably see golden tombs, silent pyramids, and gods carved in stone. But you don't see the pain, the fear of being forgotten, the centuries erased, the people who built eternity only to be swallowed by time. What if I told you? Egypt wasn't just a civilization that rose and fell. It was one that died, was reborn, and died again. Over and over. By the end of this video, you'll see a version of ancient Egypt that's raw, human, and hauntingly familiar. Because the story of Egypt is also the story of you. Long before the pyramids, before the word pharaoh ever existed, Egypt was just a ribbon of green carved into endless desert. 5,000 years ago, people followed the Nile's rhythm. Its floods were both savior and destroyer. Villages rose along its banks, tiny experiments in survival. They left no gold, no monuments, only fragments of pottery and bones kissed by silt. But something extraordinary was happening. These early Egyptians began to organize time itself. They learned to predict the floods, to read the sky, to turn chaos into order. And that obsession, order over chaos, would define Egypt's soul for 3,000 years. So far, we've seen the birth of a mindset. But how did this obsession turn into an empire that defied death itself? The answer lies in a man whose name you've probably never heard. Around 3100 BCE, a warlord named Narmer, or Menes depending on who you ask, unified Upper and Lower Egypt. He wore two crowns, the white of the south and the red of the north. Two lands, one ruler, one eternal symbol, the double crown of unity. But unity came at a cost. To hold Egypt together, Narmer didn't just rule, he mythologized himself. He became divine, the first god-king. And so began a pattern that would echo through millennia, humans turning power into religion, and religion into control. But Narmer's kingdom was fragile. One flood too high, one drought too long, and order could crumble again. So how did his descendants turn this fragile state into the civilization that built the pyramids? Imagine a world where death wasn't an ending, it was a project. During Egypt's Old Kingdom, roughly 2600–2100 BCE, pharaohs became obsessed with immortality. The pyramids of Giza, the Sphinx, the Great Pyramid of Khufu, these weren't just tombs. They were machines built to outlast memory. Inside, every wall was carved with spells from the pyramid texts, instructions for the soul's journey through the stars. The goal wasn't heaven, it was continuity. To them, death was chaos, and the pyramid was the ultimate act of defiance. But here's the paradox. The more they tried to preserve eternity, the faster they ran out of resources. As the pyramids grew taller, the people grew poorer. Eventually, even the gods went silent. The Old Kingdom collapsed, and Egypt fell into its first dark age, a time of famine, rebellion, and despair. But out of that darkness, a new idea was born. When Egypt rose again, it wasn't through monuments, but stories. The Middle Kingdom was less about conquering death and more about understanding it. Pharaohs now ruled from Thebes, not Memphis. They built canals, wrote poetry, and spoke of compassion, duty, and truth. Mat, the balance of the universe. It's here that we first hear ordinary voices, scribes, priests, commoners, wondering what makes a life worth living. But peace, like the Nile's flood, never lasts forever. A mysterious people called the Hyksos invaded from the north, wielding chariots and foreign gods. Egypt's unity shattered once more. So how did Egypt fight back and turn invasion into innovation? From defeat came fury. The New Kingdom was Egypt's golden age, and its most violent. Pharaohs like Thutmose III, Hatshepsut, and Ramses II transformed Egypt into an empire stretching into Syria, Nubia, and beyond. They called themselves sons of Ra, the sun god, and their temples, like Karnak and Abu Simbel, were not for the dead, but for the living gods who demanded to be remembered. But even amid this glory, something strange was happening. The more powerful the pharaohs became, the more fragile Egypt grew beneath them. One man would try to fix that, by changing everything. His name was Akhenaten, and he was unlike any pharaoh before him. He outlawed Egypt's ancient gods and declared one god, Aten, the sun itself. He built a new capital, Amarna, where art became human, soft, real. And beside him stood Nefertiti, a queen as powerful as her husband. For a moment, Egypt breathed with radical beauty, a world of light, music, and devotion to a single sun. But revolutions burn fast. After Akhenaten's death, his city was abandoned, his name chiseled from stone. And in his place rose a boy king, one you do know, Tutankhamun. But even Tut couldn't save the dream. Egypt's golden age was dying. So, what killed it? It wasn't one war or one drought. It was forgetting. Egypt began to fade under the weight of its own history. The priests hoarded power, the people turned away, and foreign empires, Persians, Greeks, Romans, saw not gods, but opportunity. By the time Cleopatra ruled, Egypt was already a museum of itself. She wasn't the last pharaoh because she failed. She was the last pharaoh because Egypt's story had become a myth told by others. And yet, it never truly died. Because every civilization that came after, from Rome to today, borrowed Egypt's dream to make something that outlasts us. Look around you. Our skyscrapers are glass pyramids. Our algorithms, our monuments, our fame. They're all built for one reason: to escape oblivion. The Egyptians didn't fear death, they feared being forgotten. And in that way, we are still their children. Maybe the real lesson of Egypt isn't about kings or gods, but about the fragile, beautiful arrogance of being human, believing we can carve eternity into sand. So the next time you see the pyramids, don't see stone. See a heartbeat, still echoing through 5,000 years. See a civilization that tried to make meaning in the face of nothingness, just like you do. And maybe that's why Egypt never really ended, because the story it told was never about the past. It was always about us. If this changed how you see history, leave a comment. Tell me, what do you want to be remembered for? And don't forget, history isn't something that happened. It's something we're still writing.